For 10 years, Dr. Ralph Miller directed the Chaparrals as COD's Director of Athletics. During the decade of Miller's success, beginning in 1992, COD began an unprecedented record with 18 national championships in 9 sports under the Division III umbrella of the NJCAA, with his very first championship arriving with the Chaps men's soccer program winning at the NJCAA's highest level. No question, Ralph's body of work set the tone for success that COD continues to enjoy today.
It's an honor and a privilege to introduce Dr. Ralph Miller on his induction into the College DuPage Athletic Department Hall of Fame. I had the privilege of working with and for and alongside Ralph for his entire tenure of 10 years at the College of DuPage. Ralph really had 2 full-time jobs at the college, not only orchestrating, building, and leading a highly successful athletics department, but also Ralph was the Associate Dean of Natural Sciences in charge of an immense physical education curriculum and faculty and staff of full-timers and part-timers of well over 100 people. It really took a special person to be able to do both of those positions, and that special person was Ralph, and he did it well. Upon his arrival at the College of DuPage, he built upon the legacy of a very successful athletic department and took it to an even higher level. Ralph oversaw 18 sports programs and over 300 student athletes each and every academic year. Ralph had high standards of integrity and high standards of and for success. High standards athletically, but not just athletically, but academically as well. Ralph really embraced the importance of academics and the true meaning of a student athlete, student being first. Ralph was instrumental in adding a support system for student athletes. He was instrumental in getting a full-time academic advisor specifically for student athletes. He supported the implementation of a grade check system, and at the end of each academic year, he awarded those students that achieved academically at the college. Ralph was a great leader. People think leadership is power, authority, charisma, and achievement, but what leadership really is not power, but empowerment. Not authority, but relational influence. Not charisma, but humility. Not achievement, but in helping others achieve. And that's really what made Ralph a great leader, a humble leader. He supported his staff, he encouraged them, and he gave them the resources so that they could succeed. One of Ralph's many strengths was his ability to cultivate relationships. Ralph is such a relational guy. He had great relational influence within the college and outside the college. And Ralph didn't just seek out these relationships to cultivate to get stuff for his athletic department, albeit he did a great job of doing that. But Ralph wanted to see people succeed, and he wanted to help and support those people. Internally, he had great relationships with the presidents that he worked under, the vice presidents, deans, associate deans, faculty, and support staff. Ralph just did a great job with that. He also had great relational influence outside the college to help support the athletic department. He developed many external partnerships with Nike and Converse and Pepsi and Wilson, to name a few. Local restaurants, local hotels. And yes, he built them to help his athletic department, but he truly cared about people and relationships with them. And I know even to today, he maintains a personal relationship with many of these people. And it wasn't just the leaders and the managers of these organizations. I remember on many occasions, Ralph saying, hey, let's go over to the DoubleTree. They have a great pasta bar. So let's go over there and have lunch. And it wasn't just so he could touch base with the managers there, but the wait staff, the cooks, he would know them by name and just really enjoyed people. Ralph also earned great respect with the other athletic directors in the conference and in the region. and he served as commissioner of the N4C for a number of years. Ralph's just such a great relational guy, very caring individual. He truly cared about his colleagues, his staff, his faculty, and not only as individuals, but he cared about their families. I remember, even to this day, every time we get together or talk, first thing Ralph says is, "Hey, Luann, how's your mom doing?" He loved people. He loved hosting events and hosting Christmas parties at his house, where he would include, of course, faculty and staff, but also people from the external partnerships that he had, family and loved ones of those people. He loved people. Ralph loved helping others achieve. It gave him great joy and satisfaction to see his fellow administrators, faculty, staff, coaches, support staff have success. And Ralph loved seeing things get done. And when they did get done, he wanted others to receive the credit. He was a very, very humble leader. Leadership isn't just about being the best, but a good leader makes everyone else better. And that's what Ralph did. A good guy, a good man, a good leader, a good educator, a good friend, good work ethic. Ralph came in early every day to work. He'd stay late and even later on days of competitions where he would stay around to help support his highly successful athletic teams compete. And then he was also a humble guy and did the little things. He would personally go greet the teams, the visiting teams, as they would come to the college and escort them to the locker rooms, make sure that they had everything they needed to have a good experience at the college. And Ralph would travel to many of the competitions to support his teams in the championships. And when he couldn't, on many occasions, I remember him being in the parking lot behind the building, waiting for the vans to come back, or the school bus, the SHAP buses come back to greet those coaches and players and congratulate them on a successful season. I reached out to some of Ralph's colleagues and our colleagues to get some words from them on share some thoughts on Ralph, and I'd like to share some of those with you now. One colleague said, "Ralph, it was a pleasure working for you at the college. You were a great administrator and always took pride in your job. Congratulations on getting inducted into the College of DuPage Hall of Fame. You are very deserving of this award." Another colleague stated, "Ralph directed our department with vision, unity, and support of each coach and their sport. He got the administration to understand the importance of athletics in the educational experience." And then another colleague wrote, "Dr. Ralph Miller demonstrated excellent leadership skills and was very conscientious about supporting all staff members and promoting the concept of one being the best version of themselves. Here are 5 traits that describe his leadership style: honesty, extremely focused, very passionate, respectful, and he had excellent persuasion abilities. He is a very dear friend of mine." And in closing, I too would like to congratulate Ralph on this well-deserved and great honor, and I'm so happy I could be a part of it.
Under Miller's direction, the Chaparrals won 18 national championships while leading 18 sports and the physical education department in his 10 years as Director of Athletics and Associate Dean. He supported college success courses for student athletes and recognized their achievements with annual academic awards. He supervised 60 coaches and headed curriculum, wellness programs, and recreation. An NJCAA Region 4 Hall of Famer in 2002 and one-time N4C Commissioner, he was respected campus-wide for developing corporate sponsorships and nurturing internal and external relationships that included the Doug Collins and John Paxson basketball clinics. Please welcome Dr. Ralph Miller.
Thank you very much. Luann, you sure you were talking about me? Yeah, I know, I'll tell you, yeah. And the second check is in the mail soon, okay? Right. I want to say thanks very much to Jane and the Hall of Fame Committee for this opportunity. It's something that I really appreciate. And as Luann said, I'm very humbled about it. Luann, I want to thank you very much for introducing me. You are a very, very true friend and somebody that I love very, very much. And to Hal Makadich, thank you for hiring me. You know, it's something that I still can remember the interview and the question that you asked me. How are you going to run the athletic department? And I remember my response was I was going to try and facilitate to make sure everybody did the best that they could possibly do. And you know what, Hal? That's what you did. It's something that you certainly did that as president. And I'm sure Brian Caputo is doing it right now for those, because I know he certainly has been very supportive of athletics. I'd also like to congratulate my fellow inductees. Again, it's a true honor for you, and I am certainly so happy for you. You know, when I joined COD, I used to walk into the building and say, this is like the eighth wonder of the world. Places that I had worked previously, it was a struggle financially all the time, but it was something that COD provided great resources for students, great resources for faculty and staff, and great facilities and so forth. But probably the best thing about COD were the people. Student athletes were great, but it was something that the people that I worked with were just absolutely wonderful. And many of them remain good friends of mine, you know, for over 30 years. And I really value their relationships. And when you think about the opportunity to work with people like Ron Otteson, Al Zamsky, Deb DiMatteo, Don Klaas, Luann, Bob McDougall, Jane Vatchev, Earl Reed, Lou Solardi, Jimmy Kelly, Seven Sarkeesian, Dave Webster, Eric Howenstein, Matt Foster, Beth Mitchell, Steve Murray. Those are people, they're just absolutely wonderful people. They were great teachers, they were great coaches, and they were just absolutely added much value to our students. You know, we did have, as mentioned in a video mentioned by Luann, we did have very good athletic success. But, you know, I signed the requisitions, I signed the checks and so forth, but it's something that it was a tribute to our student athletes and to those people that were coaching them. And truly, believe me, we had great, great coaches. They were just absolutely wonderful people. You know, as Luann mentioned about our academic success, one of the things that I'm most proud of, okay, is the fact that we gave recognition to our student athletes who were academically successful. And we did this where we sent certificates out each semester. Actually, I should say each quarter, because we were still in quarters at the time. Each quarter, where someone who was 3.75 out of 4 was an academic superstar. Somebody who was 3.5 was a academic star, and I think we went down to 3.0. But probably the most, I don't know, enriching thing that happened was an award that we gave for most improved, and that was for students who achieved a 0.5 GPA or better from one semester to the next semester. So if somebody had a 2.5 and they got the 3.5, they got a certificate in the mail saying they were a most improved athlete. And I got a call from a mother, and this is something that I will remember until I die. And she had said she wanted to thank me for sending her the certificate. She said her son, who was 19, had never received anything with respect to his academic pursuits, anything honoring him. And she said the whole family was very, very appreciative. All the efforts we made, and it was a considerable amount of work, but be able to get that message, to be able to say somebody made somebody happy and somebody who had struggled academically and they could make them feel good was worth all the efforts that we had. As Luann mentioned, Matt Foster and Beth Mitchell and myself, and I think after I left, Earl Reed, were involved in teaching a class in college success. And during the summer, we had over 100 athletes taking this course. So before they walked into class, it was something that they at least had a head start on what they needed to do. And I was very, very proud of that situation. And again, being able, as mentioned, to be able to come up with an academic advisor, something important. Part of this, okay, came from what I consider the father of the College of DuPage, Hal Makadich. And it's something that he set the culture, he set the tone and so forth, along with his running mate Ted Tilton. They just created a great environment. And Mike Murphy sustained most of that after Hal retired. But it was something that the atmosphere that was created, and I'll just give you a couple examples of how people worked together cooperatively, how people that were administrators facilitated the success of others. You've all heard of an organizational chart where you have the president, the vice president, and so forth. I believe in an inverted organizational chart if you were talking about students up at the top, coaches, teachers, deans, and so forth, and with the president and the board of trustees facilitating the people above them, their success. And it's something that, whether it was intentional or unintentional, that was about 85 or 90% of the climate at the College of DuPage. And Hal, I sincerely want to thank you for being able to nurture that, foster that, and so forth. Just a couple quick examples, okay, of that. We had a student activity fund committee that involved Mary Phillips, who was director of student activities, and Jana Oldfield and Jack Weissman, who were in charge of the Arts Center, and myself. And there was a big pot of money that had to be distributed. And it was something, there was never a time when anyone tried to take advantage of the situation. If one area was hurting and needed money, the other areas were supportive and added some more resources in their area. And again, that's the culture that was created. Another thing, and this was like I was in heaven one weekend. Thanksgiving week. On Monday, the Board of Trustees approved $330,000 to renovate our fitness center and our strength complex. And we actually flip-flop and enlarged them considerably. On Tuesday, I get a call from Ken Colbert, who is Hal's vice president, and said, Hal thinks that you need to get some new equipment. I'm putting $70,000 more in your budget. And it's something that on Wednesday, I get a call from Dave Boffman, who was the dean who I reported to for physical education, said, Ralph, I think you need to buy some more equipment. I put $69,000. None of this was solicited. It was totally unsolicited. It was people that were administrators that were supporting programs because they believed and they wanted to do everything they possibly could to make the student experience something that is wonderful. And to me, that's something else. And one last thing, and Hal, I just appreciate what you've done. Before he and Ted Tilton retired, because of the success we had, national travel budget was always a total disaster. The year that we won 5 national championships, 13 out of 18 teams went to the nationals. It was a total disaster. And before he retired, he created a separate account. So if we went over in our budget, okay, for national travel, there was money that was there for national travel. And to me, that was something that facilitated. I know I'm a very good friend. My predecessor, Herb Stahlberg, said his favorite color was silver. And that was only for one reason. It was because he didn't have the money for national travel. My favorite color is gold. And thank you, Hal, for supporting us for that. I really appreciate it. Did have some relationships with outside vendors. Luann mentioned them all, so I won't mention them. But it's something that, again, relationships with people were very, very important to me. I want to thank my family. My 4 kids are here. My grandchildren are here. Pete and Christina and Carla and Eric, my kids. Carla's spouse, Chris. Christina's spouse, Jeremy, and 3 kids, Braden and Alexis and Kaylee are here. And let's see, who did I forget? Carla and Chris. And then we got Eric is right there. And then Pete and Olivia. They are here. And again, I appreciate, and most of all, I appreciate Nancy Miller. And I hope you listened to and paid attention to that thing so you just know what a good person I am, okay? You just know that, all right? Because somehow or other I don't get that response all the time at home, but yeah. She's been very, very supportive of me. Since I've left, I've had 3 surgeries, and she's been Nurse Nancy and got me back to good health. It's something also when I was working my doctorate and she was working on hers, she took a pause on hers to get mine typed and so forth. It was something that I really appreciate and has always been very supportive. Brian Caputo and Ryan Kaiser, you got the ball rolling. keep it going. Keep it going. Let's make sure that COD stays where it should be. And 4 national championships, maybe next year it'll be 6 or 8. And again, I can't thank, I should say, I hope I added some value to the athletics program at COD. I know the athletics program at COD added much value to me. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening.